here is because I just want you to be aware of the fact that basically there's probably more jobs out there in the art world than maybe you would have guessed. So I just kind of want to start with this idea of keeping an open mind about the many available creative careers that are out there for you. Now, the school itself is here in Chicago. We are in the South Loop. So this is the building. We occupy floors 2 and 3. And this is not your traditional college campus. This is more of an urban campus feel where you are surrounded by businesses and museums and lots of restaurants. You know, it's a whole cool city vibe. Now, when we're talking about museums, understand that those are beautiful resources for an art student. You've got the Art Institute right across the street. You've got the Museum of Contemporary Art just north of us on Michigan Avenue. You also have the Museum of Contemporary Photography just south of us. And actually, any museum can be a great resource for a student. The Field Museum is walking distance to us. We certainly take our students over there during class time so they can draw from the artifacts and be inspired by the exhibits. The parks are outdoor painting studios. They are also the whole city itself actually is a great backdrop for photography. So when you're thinking about architectural photography, landscape photography, things of that nature. So definitely don't be so quick to write off a city as a campus, even though it's more non-traditional. It's still a great opportunity, especially if you want to pursue art. Now, we are a small school. We typically have 15 to 20 students in class, but with the pandemic, we're actually more around the 10 student mark now for obvious reasons. So we are doing a bit of a hybrid schedule as well, but it hasn't been like a huge adjustment just because we're a small school anyway. When we're talking about the size of the school, I want you to understand that that size is actually something that students really love. So when we ask our students why they return for sophomore year, we do a survey. And one of the things that always comes up is that the kids really love this intimate art community. So when you are shopping colleges, it is important to ask what retention rates are, what graduation rates are. So of course, the retention rate is how many of your freshmen actually return for sophomore year. And then your graduation rate is how many students that start actually go through the whole program and graduate. Now, I do want you to be aware of the fact that we have a place called University Center. We share this dorm with other schools like Columbia and Roosevelt. It's a lovely facility. I've been like an RA there, quote unquote, when we do our summer studio program in the summer. I've stayed there myself. It's a secure building with a lot of nice amenities. It's like 2 or 3 block walk from our school. So that is an option. Most of our students commute, but there is a small percentage of students that definitely stay in the city and choose to be closer to the academy, especially if they're coming from further away. Now, this is a fun little page I like to call my here's something you don't know about the academy page. There are a lot of people that have no idea that one of the original creators of Coca-Cola Santa Claus, Hayden Sundblom, actually went to the American Academy of Art College. The original illustration that was created for the Coppertone logo was done by Joyce Ballantyne. Alex Ross, we'll talk about him later on, amazing internationally renowned graphic novel artist. And if any of you are into gaming, we have an alum, Lorraine McLeese, who works for Bungie. She's worked on both Halo and Destiny. And one of the creators of Mortal Kombat attended the Academy. It was basically John Tobias and Ed Boon were the 2 main creators, and John Tobias went to our school. And just so you know, Mortal Kombat is created in Chicago. A lot of people don't know that. Now, the Academy offers a BFA, or a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree. We offer programs in commercial art. So we have the following. I will go through all of these with you and give you some examples. But illustration, graphic design, 3D modeling and animation, art direction and photo. And then my fine art major is painting, where you can either pursue oil or watercolor. Now, what I want you guys to understand, hold on, we have a couple of duplicate slides here, is that when we're talking about illustration, these are actually some of the actual careers that you can pursue in that given field. So you know what, when you're thinking about illustration, like a children's book illustrator, that's a great example because an illustrator is telling a story visually. They are creating a visual narrative. And here we actually see an example. I'll be showing you examples in each of these slides of what something looks like, you know, from that program, like what a student or an alum has created to help you visually understand what that program is all about. So at the Academy, illustration is both traditional and digital, and it is our #1 program. So most of our students are enrolled in illustration. So if anyone is looking for that program to pursue, this is a great school to look at. When you're talking about graphic design, I need for you to really understand that that does include more things than just being a graphic designer. Do yourself a favor and go to Indeed.com. Search for graphic design jobs in the city that you live in. If you pull up graphic design, you will see that you also need app and web design experience as well. And graphic design is really all about kind of like this marriage of like words and pictures, right? Like laying out images that include visual and text. It has a lot to do with creating product identity, branding. Deadlines are huge in the graphic design world. So we bring that into our curriculum as well. And then we also have a program called 3D modeling and animation, which I will tell you guys, more and more, I'm seeing so many jobs come up in this field because of the virtual world that we live in. So when you're a 3D modeler at the Academy, you do some traditional drawing and sculpting skills first, and then you go into the computer studio and you're working with various software programs from 3D Studio Max to Maya to Photoshop. There's all different types of programs that you work with depending on what it is that you're modeling. And when you are a 3D modeler, and I'm going to show you a cool little portfolio here from Bianca Anaya, one of our alum, you are definitely working with lighting. You're working with the whole idea of like video. Many times sound is integrated into this, but I just really want you to be aware of the lighting situation. Like that is something that is so important when you're building a 3D modeling portfolio, because if light doesn't bounce off of your hotel, like you see here, or light doesn't bounce off of like a character in terms of like a reflection on their skin, or maybe something that they're wearing, having a reflection. Think about modeling a motorcycle or a car, you have to have that sheen that comes off of the metal of those objects. It will not appear realistic. So the Academy is really good about teaching students the fundamental skills that can be applied then to each individual major. Now, a lot of students are not really sure like what art direction is. So art direction, basically when you're building an art direction portfolio, for example, you bring all your skills together. You can build a beautiful portfolio that shows your photography, your design, your illustration. Typically, art directors get to that position once they've worked for a while as maybe a junior graphic designer or an illustrator. But if you actually have a degree in art direction, we have some students who have graduated right out of the Academy and then gotten a position like that. So what you're basically doing is like you're coming up with this vision, and then you hire people to all come together as a team and execute that vision. You are their boss. You are overseeing that team of creatives. So you have to have the creativity, of course, but then you also have to have good people skills. So this image that I'm showing you is actually a collaboration of two of our recent graduates, where one student acted as the art director and then the other student acted as the designer that actually executed this whole idea of this exhibit at the Field Museum. And then we also have photos. So understand that photography at the Academy is going to include the darkroom. A lot of schools don't do darkroom anymore, but we still do, as well as the digital side. And what's cool about photography is, first of all, as I mentioned earlier, you know, we really try and get our students out of the photo studio to go out and photograph within the city. And the city of Chicago is a pretty big city, so there's a lot of great options there. But what else I think is very cool about photography is how you can bring your personal interests in. So like, let's say you're kind of a jock or you like sports in high school, but you also have this creative side. There's this opportunity maybe to do sports journalism, like sports photography. Maybe you're kind of a fashionista, like you're all about looking at magazines and accessorizing, fashion photography. If you like Dateline in 48 hours, there's actually forensic photographers that are needed in courtrooms, and the list goes on and on. So I will tell you, even if photography was not something you wanted to pursue as a major, I would definitely say to pursue it as an elective because it's a great skill to have as an artist. And then lastly, we have painting. So this is our fine art program, and you see some of the positions that you can pursue with this degree. First, let's talk about some of the skills that you're working with as a painter. Again, you're working with color theory, you're working with lighting and perspective. You are learning how to create a mood or an atmosphere with the colors that you choose. So it's a very good program at the Academy. Again, we are one of the only schools that has like a very traditional painting program in the Chicagoland area. That is a really good program. And it's also important for you to realize that a lot of people, they get a BFA, many times go on to get an MFA. And the reason why they're getting a Master of Fine Arts is because it allows them to teach. And for a lot of people, that's something that they've always wanted to do, but it's also something that can help support them financially. So if you want to be a freelance painter, in addition to selling your paintings and, you know, doing gigs through exhibitions and things like that, you have like the stable income too. So I would definitely tell you, many of our students have pursued that route. We've also had a good number of students pursue a master's in arts therapy. So a lot of them have become art therapists, which is very cool too. You're looking at a beautiful painting here that was done by Sean Michael Warren, one of our alum. And we have many artists from the Academy who have exhibited their work in museums, such as Sean Michael. Okay, so what I'm going to do is actually show you our first spotlight. And, you know, in lieu of the pandemic, I think it's important for you to see this example of how artists are kind of creating like a positive thing out of kind of a negative thing, right? So like at this point, we're seeing how artists are using their creativity to come up with solutions to problems. We're the innovators. We're the ones that are going to think outside the box and come up with some of these ideas. So Alex's spotlight is great for you to see because Alex created the Frontline Heroes Project. How this works is you would actually send Alex a photograph of a loved one that's a frontline worker. So like, let's say my husband's a doctor. So I want to surprise him. I'm going to send a photo to Alex of my husband. Alex will then create a digital portrait. He will use, he actually uses Sketchbook Pro. He uses a tablet to do this, so his iPad. And then he will send my message with this portrait emailed to my husband. And then he would open it and be like, oh my gosh, like, I didn't know that anyone was doing this for me. You know, it's a really nice thing to show your appreciation. It's also a great way to raise money because it's only $20 actually to do this, but a percentage of this actually goes to an artist resource fund, which I think is pretty cool. But, you know, when Alex talks about this, because Alex is actually on YouTube speaking about this, it really is like something that's been so meaningful to him to bring happiness to someone who is on the front lines, you know, risking their lives in these really stressful situations. So this is a great example of how art can do so much for people. So I thought you'd enjoy seeing kind of this digital concept as to how the piece came to be. We also have Max Sansing. So Max is a nationally known muralist. He is a freelance fine artist, and the paintings that you're looking at here are beautifully done. They're part of the Keyed In series, so be aware of these little keys that you're going to see come up in a lot of these. When Max was little, his dad worked for the CTA. So his dad had this huge ring of keys. His dad like had the keys to the city. And the keys became very symbolic for Max as an artist. He kind of like saw it as like when you put a key through the keyhole and you open that door and you pass through that threshold, it's very symbolic of moving from one place in your life to another place, a better place. So look at his use of color here. The muted gray tones kind of represent your life before you have that key and before you have that opportunity to open that door. And then the bright, cool neon colors actually represent a more like vibrant part of your life. So it's really cool to see how he works with color here. Here are a few of his murals. Again, you're checking out these cool keys. And he is an artist who is known for mixing his graffiti styles with photorealistic images. So when we're talking about photorealism, we're talking about creating something that is highly realistic to the very last detail. So I really enjoy Max's spotlight. I think his work is gorgeous. It's beautiful to see this in our city. Joe Renda is another freelance fine artist. Here we see one of his pieces that actually is a painting on a sheet of aluminum. And the painting is about 5 feet across, and it's spray paint and oil paint that he's working with. We also see the artist painting on a box. So on the front panel of this box, he makes this painting, but he also drills out a hole where the face can be, or should be, I should say. And then you can look inside the box and you see this little diorama that he's created with these little wooden trees. He also drills a hole in the bottom so you can actually put a light bulb at the bottom. You don't really see it, but if you see this in a gallery environment, it actually will bring light through the hole that's in the actual box. So it illuminates the piece. So you're seeing some kind of unconventional ways that people can paint. Joe had a show at the Vertical Gallery in Chicago called Biophilia, and it deals with our relationship as humans with nature. There's also some surreal details there, like instead of having hair, these guys have leaves, right? So it's really like showing our connection to the environment and how our behavior and how we treat our environment has so much to do with the future of our environment. These were done in oil, and this was a sold out show, by the way, so I thought I'd throw that in. Joe is also a muralist. Here we actually see some of his works on paper, so we'll get to his murals in a moment, but these are some of his mixed media works on paper. These are really fun for students to see because they give you cool ideas for your sketchbook where you can experiment with pieces of tape, singeing the edge of the paper, bringing in different medium that you've never worked with before. They're really fun and interesting pieces to see. But in terms of the murals, this is an indoor mural at a brewery in Niles. This is about 20 feet across by about 10 feet high. And then again, his response to the pandemic, we're actually seeing a piece that was done for the Medical Relief Fund. This is over on Taylor Street by the hospital district. So you see again, his tie-in with nature, but then you also see the mask here. So that's part of the theme of what he created for that piece. And then I'm also showing you some of Joe's portraits through the years. So this is a self-portrait that Joe did when he was a freshman in high school. Joe took a ton of art in high school. So by the time he got to the academy, he was drawing at this level. So it really shows you how, you know, your 4 years of high school can really prepare you for art school. So this was like a 4-year transition, basically. When you look at these two pieces here, you're seeing like roughly a 4-month transition, because this is Joe's portrait. He did like pretty much the first day of school at the academy in September, and then this is in December. So the academy is a really good place to go if you need to learn how to draw, or if you really need to like polish your drawing skills. Now I'm sharing Rojo Garcia spotlight with you as well. Rojo actually is both a commercial artist and a fine artist. So we see some of his fine artwork here. This artist actually creates these really cool stencils. So you'll see these repeating patterns in a lot of his work. He works with spray paint, he works with acrylic paint. And in addition to being like a muralist and a fine artist, he also has experience in graphic design. So now you're seeing some examples of his logos. So it is important for you to realize that, you know, having both sets of skills is certainly really instrumental in being a successful artist that can survive financially, because these commissions that he does and creating these logos, it's just more of an opportunity for him to gain an income. This artist also teaches through the After School Matters program. Here you see some of those students with a mural that they did. And you'll see a lot of Rojo's murals all throughout the city of Chicago into the suburbs. Many of them are outside, but a lot of them are in schools and inside buildings as well. This one was created over the summer over in Wrigley Field. So really nicely done piece. And then we have Alex Ross, who I spoke of earlier. Alex is our very famous alum who is an internationally renowned graphic novel artist. Here we see his work of his Marvel superheroes as well as his DC superheroes. Just so you know, when Alex is creating these images, many times he works from live costume models, just like he did in our life drawing classes at the academy. He'll also work from photos for reference, and these are all hand painted. None of this is digital. The artist also has an interest in movies. He's done work for Hollywood. So these are licensed posters, like movie poster type paintings that he's done for blockbuster movies like Aquaman, Glass, Black Panther, The Avengers. And then here we actually see Alex has a love of music, as many artists do. So you see a tribute to bands like the Beatles, as well as the Monkees. And then we have David Bowie. Alex also has been drawing ever since he's been a little dude. Excuse me. So that first piece was done when he was about 5 or 6. This is elementary school, high school. And actually, guys, I'm really not sure when he did these cool little like action figures, but they were made out of cardboard and paper. And, you know, Alex does have a licensed line of action figures now, just so you know. So he's someone that always has had a passion for art ever since he's been little. He's an art prodigy. His mom went to our school too. She was a really well-known fashion illustrator, and her name was Lynette Ross. Okay, so we have Brian Ewing, one of my last spotlights I'm going to show from our alumni side. I'm going to focus on Brian's use of merchandising and marketing. So when you look at these really cool images, take a good close look at them, because there's some really neat detail here. You see some muscular and skeletal detail happening as like an overlay. And these are skateboards. So he has sold the rights to these images so that they can be merchandised on an actual product and mass produced. He also does these rock posters. So he's done these really cool promo pieces for indie bands, but has also worked with Guitar Hero, Metallica, Morrissey, Green Day, Foo Fighters. His posters are very fun. Like, for example, he'll do some cool glow in the dark posters. So like the green part, like the little like squid-like image that comes in, that's what you actually see in the dark. Many of you may have seen the movie The Joker with Joaquin Phoenix. So now we see another approach to creating like a movie poster image. He starts with a skeletal piece. He layers over that all these really cool like examples of copy and text, also digitally drawing more details. It's kind of like a collage piece. And the final piece you see here, and I'm now going to show you an example of marketing because I'm going to show you a little snippet that he put on Instagram promoting the inking of this poster. So this helps actually increase his followers, bringing them to his website, increasing opportunities for freelance commissions, selling products, things like that. So check this out because this is very branding and his link to brianewing.com. Definitely, if you guys get a chance to check out that website, I would encourage you to do so because it's a great artist website. Okay, so now I just want to kind of switch gears and show you an example of a student portfolio. So when someone goes to an art school like the Academy, one of the most important things that they will build is their student portfolio. This is actually how they get jobs, right? And the Academy has a career services program that assists them with the development of that portfolio, the writing of their resume, the presentation of that portfolio, and their interviewing skills. So I thought I would include that as well so that you're aware of the fact that we do have job placement at the Academy. Once a student graduates, they are being assisted in being placed in full-time, part-time, commission jobs, whatever the situation may be. So it's really nice to have someone helping you get out there and giving you the opportunity to network in the art world, which can be quite competitive. So when we're looking at Brandy's portfolio, this is based on a punk band from the 90s called Garbage. And Shirley Manson was kind of like the head of that band. And these are all portrayals of Shirley from various album covers that have come out through the years. So Shirley kind of changed her look here and there, like she'd have different hairstyles, hair colors, different, clothing and accessories. Like she really changed herself up a lot. So Brandy decided to create a whole portfolio piece based on Shirley. She posted it on social media and tagged Shirley. And now, as I understand it, her and Shirley have been in communication with each other. So you never know with social media who's going to see your work. You guys have a lot of opportunities that we didn't have 20 and 30 years ago. These are actually, this is called Sorry Mom Tattoo. So it's basically some designs that an inker can use for a tat. So these are based on scary little baby doll heads. I know they're a little weird and creepy, but that's the idea. That's what she was going for. And the last piece I'm going to show you is actually like an animated self-portrait of the artist. And she purposely is portraying herself as kind of frazzled and imperfect, maybe stressed. The reason why she's doing that is because life is not perfect every day. We deal with things as humans. We deal with grief, we deal with anxiety, we deal with depression, and it's okay not to be okay. And Brandy is really trying to help us understand that being creative and being an artist actually is a great escape and a very therapeutic way to get through these bad times. So when she created this self-portrait, I mean, she really allowed herself to be kind of vulnerable and, deliver this message to people, but I really appreciate her for doing so. And it's really a cool piece. So she did a nice job. And then the last thing we're going to end with are some actual tattoos. I know high school kids love tats. Carlos Ortiz, one of our alum, owns his own inking studio in Blue Island called Aztec Ink. I simply went to his website and I went to his Instagram postings and I chose the ones that I actually like the most. But of course, that's why I'm putting the handle here. You guys can go and, check this out on your own. You'll see a lot of other really great tattoos that you may love as well. But what I really want to draw your attention to is the realism of what you're looking at here. This is an artist that went to a school that taught him how to draw and paint. That is why his tats look like this. Not everybody's tattoos look like this. So when I used to present this presentation live, I would have kids raise their hand and be like, wait a minute. Is this a tattoo on someone's face? Like, is that someone's eye that they actually inked around? No, this is actually a tattoo on someone's upper arm. That eye is actually part of the tattoo. He's just really good. These are actually some video footage pieces. So I'm showing them to you so you can see them from different angles. Oh, sorry. Got to go back to this one. Here we go.
Did you ever want it? Did you want it bad?
Now, this one is a really beautiful example of how you can really kind of fuse like the fine art world with the inking world, which usually people like don't connect those. But this on its own, if this was not inked on someone's skin, would be a beautiful portrait. Look at the detail as well. I mean, really, really nicely done. And speaking of detail, when we look at this tat, you can see that the Carlos actually worked from a photo. It's kind of hidden here in the background. Lots of detail, lots of cool stuff happening there. So actually, guys, this concludes all of my spotlights. I do want you to be aware of the fact that we are in the works of creating a senior scholarship competition that would be online. This used to be hosted live, but for this year, we're going to put together some guidelines and give you an opportunity to submit work to a digital portal. So this is for our December grads and class of 2021. And then we have a virtual open house coming up that actually will be through Zoom, just like this, and it will give you an opportunity to do Q&A with recent grads. It will give you an opportunity to see some demos, like maybe a painting demo, a 3D modeling demo. There'll be a tour, a gallery showing. It's a great opportunity to learn more about the school. So I understand in the times that we're in, it's difficult, right? Like you want to actually go and visit these schools before you make decisions. We totally get that. But for this semester, we will be virtual. We'll see how things go next semester. Maybe we can start allowing smaller groups of people to come in. But basically that concludes the PowerPoint presentation. So I'm going to go ahead and stop my share. And as participants of the Strive Scan Fair, we will be receiving your information. So I will have someone follow up with you to see if you're interested in doing a virtual portfolio review or a virtual admissions interview, and basically just allowing you to get into our database so we can invite you to events. So I thank you for sharing your evening with me. If you have any questions, our contact information should also be given to you as well, I believe. If not, I'm not really sure how that all works, but I'm pretty sure you guys will get our contact info. But if you want to email me, I can be emailed at ldeluca@aaart.edu. So that's LDELUCA at 3A's AAART.edu. So I'll be happy to answer any questions you have via email as well. So thank you for your time.